welcome to Season 1, Episode number 36 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today, as always, we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches of 2020 with match number 15 on our list, which is the submission match between Alex Shelley and Lee Moriarty from the AIW Built to Last event held back on the 7th of February. Now, this was the rubber match between both of these guys. They had two matches at the tail end of 2019. The first being a match at the AIW 200 event, which saw Shelley defeat Moriarty with the Border City Stretch. The rematch took place at the greatly named Baby It's Too Cold Outside event held back in December, in which Lee evened the score by countering the Border City Stretch into a roll-up to get one up on Shelley. That naturally led to this rubber match, and it was a submission match. Basically, the story being that Alex Shelley had made Lee submit. Lee had not made Alex Shelley submit it and kind of got lucky with a fluke roll-up. So this match would determine who is the better man, who would get that second win, and who would do it via submission. This match probably had the biggest climb of any match of 2020 on my list, being that it's ranked very high. It's number 15 on my list. When I initially made my list of, my favorite 85-ish matches of 2020, this was down near the bottom of that. It was good enough that I thought there was potential it could make my top 50. But if it did, I expected it to be right around that 50 marker. This match I thought was good at the time. I actually remember the night after this event, I went to a Toronto Raptors game with my friend Kevin, who makes great wrestling crosswords. You can check him out at Avalanche Style on Twitter. But he asked me how the AIW show was, and I remember talking about this match and saying, it was really good. It was Alex Shelley versus Lee Moriarty. It was really good. This match blew me away when I rewatched it, though. Alex Shelley is a guy, obviously an independent wrestling legend. He's been doing it so long. This comeback he's made, as a longtime fan, is really great for all of us. This may have been close to a career performance from him. And the reason I say that is he's been a guy that's never really been put in that main event scene. When Generation Next was in its heyday in Ring of Honor, he had, a Ring of Honor title match with Austin Aries. But even that wasn't the main event of the show it was on. He never really hit that mark. And for a good chunk of his career, he's been, more associated as a tag team wrestler, right? The Motor City Machine Guns with Chris Sabin and the Time Splitters with Kushida. So, this really felt like this dude basically putting on a one-on-one performance of a lifetime. He was so unbelievably good here. And the story is what made this match. So Shelley goes into this match, thinking there's no way Lee's going to make me submit, right? I've outclassed him on the mat. He got lucky in the next one, in the last match. But immediately they show that Lee Moriarty is a step ahead of Alex Shelley. Every single thing that Alex Shelley tries to do to counter, Lee is one step ahead of it and has a counter for the counter, and nothing works. And that causes Alex Shelley to snap. He becomes so incredibly disrespectful to Lee. And Lee's a really good, likable, humble guy. And Shelley just treats him like crap. He spits at him. The first opportunity he gets to do a clean break, he doesn't. He smacks him. He kicks him. He blows snot rockets at him. It is just ridiculous. But to Lee's credit, he goes completely unfazed through all of that. There's a spot very early on where Alex Shelley stomps on Lee's arm, doesn't faze Lee, and in fact, Lee just hits the punt kick, that I talked about in the Jonathan Gresham match a couple videos ago, and just kicks Shelley's arm out, right? Doesn't faze him whatsoever. The first opportunity that Lee Moriarty gets to break clean, he does, right? So again, just that psychological game with Shelley too of, Shelley didn't do that, but Lee is showing he doesn't need those cheap tactics. He breaks clean. Shelley proceeds to hit him with a huge chop. Lee's not intimidated at all by it, right? No sells the chop. So what does Shelley do? He has to punch and kick and scrape and claw and boot scrape. And eventually, even when that doesn't work, he ends up just hitting Lee in the dick, right? To take that advantage. They do a spot where Shelley goes, for multiple lariats, and Lee just absorbs them all. So Shelley has to dump them on his head, right? Go outside of that, submission game that this match is supposed to be around. Shelley continues that. He takes the match to the floor, and just, again, arrogantly, slaps some submissions on the floor. He can't win out there, but he puts it in an abdominal stretch, just to show, try to show his dominance over Lee. He spits water at him to cut off a dive. He brawls and takes him through the crowd and hits his shell shock into the bar, that's held at the venue. So again, just showing, this is supposed to be this clean technical masterpiece between these two great proficient wrestlers, but Shelley has had none of that, right? They end up, again, just going back into the ring, and this is where Lee, again, just goes on a completely, different level. He goes for an enziguri, which Shelley puts his arm up, to block, takes the kick to the arm, and from there it's lights out. For the rest of the match, Lee Moriarty does not stop going after that arm. And again, it was kind of a different creative way, to put Shelley's arm in peril. He blocked a strike and therefore took the strike to the arm, and that's all it took. Lee just sticks to the arm. Every move he does, right? He's going after that arm. Stuff where Alex Shelley would hit a German suplex, right? And after he hits that German, Lee would continue to crank on the arm, right? Just being unrelenting for it. Shelley had to go deep into his playbook. He ended up getting out of the arm attack by, countering with an air raid crash, a big time move. He hit, a gory vertebraker looking thing after that. Probably would have put Lee away. But this is the match that Shelley asked for. He wanted the submission match. He couldn't pin Lee at that point. They end up going out onto the, so Shelley, he goes for his Border City stretch, his pet submission, how he beat Lee in the first match. Lee escapes by going under the rope onto the ramp. In their second match, they had kind of a viral spot where Shelley gave Lee a brainbuster on the ramp, and there was a video online of a girl like taking a selfie, while all of this was going on, and it kind of became a viral hit. It was a cool little video. So they tease that, but Lee's prepared, and instead he hits a divorce court on Shelley's bad arm onto the ramp, right? They go back in, Shelley's on the ropes, the arm is dead. Lee starts going for his La Mystica, which he normally turns into a Fujiwara armbar. He hits it. Shelley, disrespectful, but knowing that he's on his last legs, he flips Lee off. Lee proceeds to grab his fingers, but Shelley, has to do what he has to do. He grabs Lee by the dick, right? Goes back to that tactic. And they go into a really hot, really great finishing sequence where, Lee hits La Mystica. Shelley tries to fight through it, goes for a lariat, gets La Mystica again, tries to fight through, goes for a lariat, gets La Mystica again. Right, he keeps going back to it. Shelley finally, is able to grab, a fluke Border City stretch. And just in one of my favorite finishes all year, Lee counters out of the Border City stretch with the roll-up he used to win their second match. But instead of keeping the pin, because this is a submission match, he turns it into his own Border City stretch. And he makes Alex Shelley submit 100% cleanly to his own finish. Alex Shelley's talked about on social media how he's using this run to try to help elevate the future of this business, and there is no better example than this match. He allowed somebody to beat him with his own submission finishing move. How much more can you put your eggs into someone's basket and give them that seal of approval, as he gave Lee Moriarty on this night? After the match, he talks about maybe doing it again with them someday, or maybe even making a tag team, and that is something that I would love to see at some point. As of the recording of this video, unfortunately with COVID, Alex Shelley's, real job, it's in the medical field, so unfortunately he's not allowed to take a lot of bookings, but I hope we get to see that as things get better over the course of 2021. This match can be watched on IWTV. You can also, if you're more of a physical media person, you can purchase the DVD, or it might be on Blu-ray as well from smartmarkvideo.com. Please subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, follow on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and join me again as we continue to count down pro wrestling's top